So, last episode, we got real. We talked about which jobs are vulnerable, which ones are riding the Titanic, and which roles might actually have a future. And if you're feeling a bit unsettled, good. That means you're paying attention. But here's the thing, and this is where we pivot. Knowing what's coming and knowing what to do about it are two very different skills. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. This is the actionable episode, the one where we stop analyzing and start advising. So, whether you're a developer wondering if your skills are future proof, or you're in a completely different field and you feel the ground shifting beneath you, this one's for you. First up, let's talk about AI literacy. And I don't mean you need to become a machine learning engineer. That's not the point. The point is understanding what agents can do, where they fall apart, and this is the bit most people miss, where human judgment actually adds value. Think of it like digital literacy in the early 2000s. You didn't need to know how to build a router. You needed to know what the internet was good for and where it was rubbish. Same deal here. If you can read a prompt, you can work with agents. But can you prompt effectively? Can you spot when an agent's giving you something that looks right but is actually completely wrong? That's the skill. And it starts with curiosity, not code. Now here's an idea that doesn't get enough airtime: the human-in-the-loop advantage. Everyone's talking about agents replacing humans, but the more interesting dynamic is agents amplifying humans. And here's why that's actually good news for you. Agents are brilliant at processing, generating, executing. They're rubbish at context, nuance, relationships, ethics. That's your territory. The person who can steer an agent, review its output with a critical eye, and make the final call on something that matters, that's the person who becomes indispensable. Not because you're faster than the machine, but because you're better at knowing when the machine is wrong. And here's a secret: machines are wrong a lot more often than people admit. So how do you actually position yourself? Let's get practical. If you're in a technical role, you're in a better spot than you think. But, and this is the Zhuanzhou, simply writing code isn't enough anymore. The question is, can you architect systems that include agents? Can you understand a workflow well enough to identify where an agent adds value and where it creates risk? That's systems thinking, and it's the skill that separates someone who uses agents from someone who gets left behind by them. Start small. Pick one repetitive task in your day, one that makes you want to scream every time you do it. Look at it and ask, could an agent handle most of this? And more importantly, what would I do with the time saved? Because that's the real question. It's not about doing the same thing faster. It's about doing something different with the reclaimed hours. What if you're not in a technical role? Here's where it gets interesting. Domain expertise has never been more valuable. Think about it. An agent can chung a legal document, but it doesn't know your client. It doesn't understand the subtle dynamics of your specific industry. It doesn't have the relationships or the institutional memory that you spend years building. What you bring to the table is context. And context is the one thing agents struggle with most. So frame your skills accordingly. Don't say, I'm a project manager. Say, I understand how complex deliverables come together in this specific sector, and I know how to coordinate the human and automated elements to get results. See the difference? One sounds like a label, the other sounds like value. Now let's address the elephant in the room. What if you need to actually change direction? What if your role is more vulnerable than you'd like? Here's my honest advice, and I mean it. Don't try to become a developer overnight if that's not you. That's a tough road and the competition is fierce. Instead, think about where AI literacy meets your existing strengths. Are you good with people? Great. Become the person who helps others work with agents. Are you organized? Brilliant. Become the person who designs workflows that include automated elements. The world doesn't need more prompts. It needs people who can bridge the gap between what technology can do and what organizations actually need. That's the AI translator role we mentioned a couple of episodes back. And it's real, and it's growing. One more thing, and this is important: mindset. Stop thinking of yourself as competing with agents. You're not. You're collaborating with them. The people who thrive won't be the ones who ignore this technology or the ones who try to become the technology. It'll be the ones who figure out how to ride the wave rather than get crushed by it. And riding a wave means understanding its power, respecting its dangers, and positioning yourself to use its energy, not to fight it, to work with it. So where do you start? Today, this week. Pick one thing. Maybe it's reading about prompt engineering. Maybe it's experimenting with an agent in your current role, even if it's just to draft emails or summarize notes. Maybe it's having an honest conversation with your manager about how your team could incorporate these tools. The point is, action. Small, consistent action beats grand strategies that never leave your head. Because here's what we've learned across this series. This isn't a future thing, it's a now thing. Agents are already here, they're already capable, and they're only getting better. The question isn't whether the world changes, it definitely will. The question is whether you change with it. Next time on Code Sunset, we're looking further ahead. Episode 8, The New Dawn. We're going to explore what the next 3 to 5 years actually hold, what new opportunities are emerging, and why, despite everything, there's genuinely reason to be excited. Because this story doesn't end with machines taking over. It ends with us figuring out how to build something new, and you can be part of that. See you there.